The Philadelphia Eagles have 4 separate defensive tackles that put up a 1.70 or below 10-yard split. You might be asking yourself, Gate, why is this relevant? Well, that's the upper 10% of the NFL in terms of defensive tackles, and 4 of them reside on one football team. Let's talk about how this might impact our pass rush. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, I just want to start off today's video by saying thank you. I told you guys in the last video that we were like 20 or 30 so subscribers away from crossing over to 6,000. Hey, man, as I make this video today, guys, we're at like 6,010 subscribers. I appreciate y'all so much, guys. Hey, if you enjoyed today's content and you want to be a part of this, we're heading towards 10,000 subscribers. I'd love for you to be a part of that equation. Just need you to subscribe to do that. To my OG subscribers, if I can ask you guys to do me a solid here as well, keep hitting the thumbs up button, keep smashing the like button. Help me spike the algorithm and get us in front of new audience members to potentially convert into our little community here. All right, y'all. Let's get down to the brass tacks here. Let's talk. The Philadelphia Eagles. I went in and I started looking over the interior defensive line. I wanted to know what was going on because there's a very good mix of young, upcoming kind of talent on that defensive line mixed in with some really, really good veterans. And there were some common themes that I saw here, guys, is like we were definitely on the hunt for a nose tackle. They call a nose guard or a nose tackle, guys. We wanted that person who could play a zero technique or a zero shade or a 2-eye, one technique. We wanted that interior guy who could eat up and make things difficult for teams to run against us. We started off last season in the 6th round. We took Marlon Tuipulotu, right? Guy ended up having some injury concerns, was never quite right last season. Never really looked like the guy that we thought we got in the 6th round. We thought we got a steal. It never really came to fruition, right? And then we ended up getting Jordan Davis this year. We traded up to go get Jordan Davis, right? Spent a top 15 pick on this guy. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's a phenomenal freak. During the offseason, we ended up signing Renell Wren, I think, to a futures contract technically, or, whatever. It's, short-term deal. Young, promising defensive tackle. Guy that has played a lot of nose tackle, can play 3 technique as well, but I would think inside of Philadelphia's system, this is more of a nose tackle signing, to be quite honest. And then we topped it off by signing undrafted rookie free agent Noah Ellis out of Iowa. I believe it was, Idaho. My bad, guys. Out of Idaho. Another guy. Intriguing. Talented young man. But it made me, I look at these guys, and these guys are different with the exception of Jordan Davis, who is an incredible athlete. These guys are different. They're not what the majority of today's topic is about. I want to talk about one of the things I think it slipped on about the Eagles because we knew we needed to improve the exterior pass rush, right? That edges. We needed the edge pass rush to be better. I already made a video, guys. I threw my chips on Josh Sweat a long time ago. Over a month ago, I told you guys that I think Josh Sweat might be in for double-digit sacks. I think that he's definitely going to, at minimum, he's going to be a 7 to 9 sack guy. But I think there's potential here for this guy to get double-digit sacks, depending upon how often to play the young man. There's some underlying concerns about the knee and things like that. We all know that. He's got a degenerative issue going on there. But nonetheless, I think the talent is there for Josh Sweat, especially flexed out wide as, like a 7 technique or a wide 9, where you give him the space to operate and do his thing. I think that young man's in for it. But the interior pass rush, it was our strength last year. Javon Hargrave is a dog. That guy, if you give him one-on-one on a pass rush situation, good luck trying to block him. Fletcher Cox has been that guy from time to time, right? He's kind of coming down the downside of his career. There's no doubt about it. He's still probably one of the best, absolute best run defenders in the league. And there's a reason for that, right? I mean, then we got guys like, Milton Williams, who in the second half of last season, I want to talk about it in concentrated windows because I do think that he struggled a lot in the first half of the season. But down the stretch of that second half, one can make the argument he was one of our better defensive players down the stretch, to be quite honest. And then that leaves us to who we just drafted in Jordan Davis. And these young men all had one common trait that I noticed on film that stood out to me. When you looked at their tenure, they're all different guys, right? I mean, if you look at Fletcher Cox and you look at Jordan Davis, those guys have the longest arm reach of anyone in the locker room. Believe it or not, Fletcher Cox actually has longer arms than Jordan Davis. Fletcher Cox has 34.5-inch arms. Jordan Davis has 34-inch arms. These are massively large human beings, obviously, right? These guys are, part of the reason why it makes them such good run defenders, right? Because it's really hard when when you're trying to push a guy off the line, when you want to engage the body. But if a guy has 34-inch arms, it's really hard to engage the body. Like, especially, generally speaking, defensive tackles are going to be a little bit better of athletes compared to guards, normally. There's always exceptions to the rule, don't get me wrong, guys. But normally speaking, the athleticism is in the favor of the defensive lineman, hence the reason that offensive linemen have to be so technically sound, if you will. With saying that, there was one thing that stood out to me, which is Jordan Davis, 163, is in the 99th percentile of 10-yard splits for defensive tackles. It's basically Jordan Davis and the rest of defensive tackles in the league. This guy ran a 163 10-yard split at over 350 pounds. That is unheard of in terms of dudes his size and what he was able to accomplish there and what he was able to do. And I've heard some of you guys kind of express concerns to me like, hey, Steve, man, when you play down on the lines like that and you're as big as Jordan Davis is, it is very important for that young man to lose some more weight because although he's already a specimen, an athletic freak, you don't want your joints trying to shift and move 340 to 350 pounds that suddenly. He needs to get down another 10 pounds or so. I hear those concerns, guys. I think those are legit. I do. But, man, this dude is going to be special. I honestly think if this guy learns technique, man, you're not finding many guys that can move at this weight and this size like Jordan Davis can. And right now, the Eagles are reporting that he is 6'6", 336 pounds. I don't know how accurate that report is, guys, to be fair. But if that is true, and this guy's already playing around 335 pounds, somewhere between 335 and 340, we're in a good spot with Jordan Davis right from the jump. Moving past Jordan Davis, the guy who put up the second fastest 10-yard split at the Combine when he was tested was Fletcher Cox's 165. Right away, you got two dudes who were very strong. They got that country strength to them. And big-bodied dudes that can absolutely fly. They can move. Their initial release off the line of scrimmage is a sight to behold. You got a 163 and a 165. Guys, that 165 puts him in like the 98th percentile, meaning the upper 2% of all defensive tackles. You got, Jordan Davis, and now you got Fletcher Cox. And I know Fletch has probably lost a step or two. I would still bet you that he's moving past 1.7. I bet you he's still in the upper 10% of all defensive linemen when he really wants to go. We can question the motor at times. Fletch plays a lot of snaps, guys. I mean, I do think you're going to find guys that when they don't really come off the field that often, I do think you're going to have questions about their motor because I do think it's obvious they're going to take a playoff here and there. But by saying that, is if you can rotate these guys and keep them fresh, those concerns become minimal and maybe you get more explosion out of a guy like Fletcher Cox. That 165 for Fletch that's a very impressive number. And you got to remember, Fletch did this quite some years ago. We're going back, like, was that 2011, 2012-ish, guys, somewhere in that time frame? That's crazy athletic, guys. That's a crazy, crazy athletic number. The next guy on that list tied Fletcher Cox last year at the Combine. Milton Williams put up a 165 10-yard split. That dude is a really good pass rusher. His initial pass rush and the explosion he gets you off the line, man, he's a guy that when it comes time to replace Javon Hargrave, I think he's got that skill set in an underfront. Remember, in an underfront, not only must you win that matchup, but you must win that matchup because you got to keep the will linebacker clean. That will linebacker has to scrape over the top and fill the gap, especially in run defense. So if you're the 3 technique on the weak side, you have got to win your matchup. That's why Javon Hargrave is so special at that, right? I think Milton Williams will be the guy that will eventually take the mantle. I don't think he's Javon Hargrave yet, guys. Like, Javon Hargrave, what I saw from Javon Hargrave last year was, wow. That dude in the first half of the year was as dominant as any defensive tackle I've watched him in a really long time, to be quite honest. And that brings us to the last person on this list, which is Javon Hargrave's 169 10-yard split, which was in the 91st percentile, basically the upper 10% of all defensive tackles in the league. Guys, our interior pass rush is going to be special. There's a lot of questions I can't answer right now, guys. I have no clue what they're going to do. I can't tell you, are they really running a 30 front? Are they going to be running a 40 front? Are they going to be running an over front, an under front? I don't know, guys. I really don't know because we have personnel that you can mix and match in multiple ways, right? I mean, Hassan Riddick can definitely play in a 30 front. He could be the outside rush linebacker. He could also play in a 40 front, basically as a stand-up joker defensive end. There's a lot of things here, guys. It's really hard to say, right? Some of these defensive tackles can two-gap. Jordan Davis can two-gap. Noah Ellis, he can two-gap. There's a lot of dudes on this, Renell Wren, he can two-gap. Marlon Tuipulotu could two-gap. So it's difficult to say, guys. I mean, we have like a blending and a mixing of guys that can pretty much play any gap responsibility you want them to play. They can play in a 30 front. They can play in a 40 front. I think the short answer is to say that they're going to be multiple in some ways. And even if they are a 30 or a 40 front, it's probably going to be some weird adaptation to it. I don't think it'll be a true 30 front or a true 40 front. I think it'll be some weird adaptation to it. So we'll have to see, guys. I don't know. It's really tough to say without seeing these guys in camp and seeing exactly what they're doing to dictate and to basically bring you information that says, like, hey, judging from the technique we're seeing, I would call this particular type of front. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. We're going to do these guys one by one. We're going to talk about, Marlon Tuipulotu, Noah Ellis. We're going to talk about Renell Wren. We're going to talk about Marvin Wilson. I'll probably add Milton Williams to the topic here. I'm not going to cover Jordan Davis, Javon Hargrave, or Fletcher Cox because they're knowns. We know exactly what's kind of probably going to happen with those three guys, but I do think there's a lot to talk about on the interior defensive line with a lot of these players, y'all. All right, I appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see you guys on the next video.